and utilities. And so we'll just, we'll dive right in and hopefully have a good discussion.
Perfect. Let's do it.
So turn it over to you
Okay.
to kind of get going. I mean, we'll just,
Are you working the slides?
Sheila is working the slides and needs to slide forward.
Yes, please.
Sheila Marie?
She was unable to hear for a little while. I don't know if she's okay, she says she's good.
Can we advance the slide to the 2025 review? Please.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. So the police department is rocking and rolling. I'm going to go down each of the Roman numerals here. We're right at 4,572 to date calls for service. Doing some research, we averaged about 5,500. Last year we did 6,000. I would project being almost November, we'll probably be in the 5,800 to 6,000 range. Made many arrests of DUIs. The one thing your officers are really motivated, and that's a good thing. And because it's hard to get, motivation comes from within, and they solve crimes and they're eager to make this a better place for sure. Two of them went to the FBI LEDA trilogy. It's a supervisory trilogy that gets put on all over the country. So helping the supervisors as we kind of look at the structure of the police department. We're looking at the chief of police and maybe two sergeants instead of a lieutenant position, so we can cover both sides of the week. And they just got back from crime scene investigations in Grand Junction. I'm going to put on a staff meeting roll call. I don't think any of them have had homicides. I've done 13 homicides. The one I'm going to show them delves into a lot of the things that they learned about at crime scene investigations, dealing with the media, don't assume anything. It's a very nasty scene, and just give them kind of as much of a hands-on viewpoint of a nasty crime scene and all the dynamics that come with that. The ICS and CIT officers are continually doing that, and those officers that aren't CIT trained, we will get them trained up. Always looking for in-county and online training opportunities using, we are part of the I-70 Training Consortium that I'm a part of. And there's scholarship money that gets offered up, and then free training and that kind of stuff. The K9 unit, you guys purchased K9 Hera. She's a 3-year-old Belgian Malinois from Poland. She's a dual purpose. She does patrol and narcotics detection. The handler is Haley Herbert, and she's having done K9 myself and oversaw the K9 unit in Ypsilanti. So far, she's doing the right things. It's one of the hardest but most rewarding positions. You're going to see a lot of public demonstrations where it's a great PR tool, and she's already has an apprehension, not with us, but at her previous agency, and already won some awards. She's about to go to Moab, Utah for some certification trials as well. I'm going to put her up against even top dogs in the state with either USPCA, United States Police Canine Association, or NAPWADA, which is National Association of Working Dog Association. These are the best of the best for the region. The country's broken up into regions. And then if she does well, she could go to nationals. Overtime, looking at the overtime, we were right on track, same as last year. A lot of the overtime should be right on the money, about at the end of the year. So we didn't seek for any increase in that for next year. The flock system, we have 2 flock cameras. I surveyed the officers of how well we use them. The one good thing about flock cameras is you can integrate. I can ask Albuquerque, New Mexico, can I see your cameras? We get requests. We do requests. So it's that interlocking network of cameras that you can really track. We've recovered some stolen cars using the flock cameras because you can say, we're looking for California plate 123 ABC on a Chevy, whatever, and it'll ping an alert to the officers that it's in our jurisdiction, and that way, it's really hard to get away with anything anymore with the plethora of cameras around.
Quick question, when is the flock contract up for renewal?
It is up,
I think it's an annual,
yeah.
because we have to do annual appropriations for the system as part of the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, it's a multi-year fiscal obligation, and that requires voter approval.
So for body worn cameras, back with SB 217, that required agencies to have body cameras and dash cameras and report writing documentation of citizen contacts and that kind of thing. This agency went with Axon, which is the grandfather of all body worn cameras. They do the tasers, evidence.com, and now they have an AI module for report writing. We've integrated all those things into one so we didn't have to piecemeal, because every vendor has their proprietary formulas and proprietary programs and stuff like that. Some things you get a little bit better bang for your buck, but it doesn't mesh well with other aspects to it. The officers can take their body-worn cameras, they downloads it, can go into the AI platform, and instead of becoming an author of reports, they're kind of editors. The AI program will help formulate a case report, and then they tweak it. Obviously, they sign their name to it. They own that, and it becomes a product of our agency. So that's us in a nutshell. Can you go to the next slide, Sheila? So obviously, being new, it's towards the end of the year. We're still doing some evaluations of the department. I've already tweaked some policies. We're already doing a property room audit that's going well. That's going to finish up at the end of the month with the help of parachute officers helping us. So we have a third-party vendor or third-party people looking at our property room. The officers are rocking and rolling, like I said. We're looking at empowering them to help us as we look at the agency's footprint of where that's going to be and what that looks like, and because it's their department, so any input from them is key. Obviously, I'm kind of a checkbook kind of guy when it comes to budget stuff. I inherited this last budget, but obviously I take the responsibility for moving forward and that kind of thing. So I try to do it as fiduciary as possible because it's your money and taxpayers' money. That we try not to waste it. The officers really appreciate that, what they've been provided when it comes to equipment and training. I'll tell you, training is super important when it comes to litigation. When it comes to cutting budgets, it's one of the first things that go, and I have to be a proponent to keep that, because we, the employer, has a case law called Canton versus Harris, and that's super important to make sure your people are trained up to prevent or to mitigate the litigation side of it if that kind of stuff happens. We have some mental wellness going on the 28th and 29th, so in a couple days. And 2 of the officers are looking at doing a physical wellness program so we can not only stay in shape physically for the demands of the job, but we have the mental aspect to keep officers as sane as possible throughout their careers. So, any questions?
Are we still on track? I think we were putting a police car a year.
We are. And, as I mentioned during the capital budget presentation, we do have included a vehicle for next year. We did have a conversation internally whether we needed it. Because we are running the program where they're take-home squads, we do really need to have an extra one. And so we're going to be maintaining
That's what it was,
an
okay.
extra squad so that if one goes down, we still have a squad that can be used.
Okay, that's
And
what
we
I
don't have to
remember
juggle.
something about
Yeah, we
that.
don't have to
That
juggle
was-
too much. I mean, the difficulty, you look at our history in the last year, we lost 2 squads.
Yeah, one on I-70.
One on I-70 and one on the interchange bridge.
Not
And
the officer's fault.
neither were the officers' fault, but, just by doing the
happen.
job, we lost vehicles.
Yep.
And so that put a bit of a crimp on our, all of a sudden, we were juggling vehicles to a certain extent. Right now, we're down 1 officer, that, I think, the department is funded for 10 professional police officers, chief all the way down to patrol officer.
And that gives us 24/7 then?
Well, I think that's a question that we'll talk about
Okay.
in 1 second. But we're down 1 officer right now. We are, as Chief mentioned, we're looking at rejiggering the command structure to a certain extent. Instead of having chief, lieutenant, sergeant, corporal, it's going to be chief, 2 sergeants, patrol officers. So we're flattening, the goal is to flatten out the management structure to a certain extent. But then, as Chief mentioned, you're going to have full weekly coverage of a command person and a sergeant, because we'll have them working different shifts, so to speak, during the week. Once we do that, sergeants, we're currently working on an internal promotion. As long as we are able to internally promote, we will then be trying to backfill the 10th position with another officer. So we'll maintain the 10 officers that are funded in the current 2025 budget. We have that 10 officer contingent included in the 2026 budget. Do you want to comment on the 24/7, the coverage?
Yes. Some officers put together, researched on their own, going to 12s. They're going to propose it Wednesday to the rest of the group. Sounds like very positive, and that will give you your 24/7 coverage, make my life and probably Amy's life easier when it comes to timesheets and scheduling. And you'll have 2 officers on, barring vacations and stuff like that. You'll have 2 officers on 12s, and it's not the flippy-flop 12s. It's the 3 on, 3 off, 4 on, 4 off configuration. So they have the same days on and days off, just with an overlap.
How does that work with overtime?
I'll look at their configuration. In Ypsilanti, we did 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, and then, so we called that our long week, so you worked 5 out of 7. But the next week, you're off 2, you're only working Wednesday, Thursday, and you're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What helps with that is, whether you're the senior person or the least senior person, everybody gets Friday, Saturday, every other Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. There was some overtime when it came to that, because that's obviously more than 80 hours. So I want to see what their configuration is. The overlap day may be an 8-hour day, but just overlapped and covered still.
So I want to ask you a question that some citizens have asked me, now that you're kind of looking things over. Do you think we need 24/7? I'm just
Yeah.
going to ask it. I just want to make sure, because I've had people ask me, and I said, I assume so, but I don't know. I'm not in charge of that, so.
Yes, yeah. I mean, to be a modern town, and we have the people to do it, I think people knowing that there's always an officer here and not on call, I think it's beneficial. It's gonna be my job to make sure the officer's wellness. I did 16 years with nights, 12s on nights, and that is kind of brutal on the body, so I have to monitor that those officers that like to be on nights, because it's kind of more exciting, that kind of thing, the bosses aren't around, that kind of thing. Physiologically, the human body doesn't do well on a nighttime schedule with circadian rhythm, because the rest of the world works in the daytime, so there's years I don't even remember anymore because of that. So it's going to be my job to make sure that maybe once a year you have to choose a shift, one-time day shift, that kind of thing. So
You know, and as you look at it, the original, my understanding is the original policy decision to go to 10 sworn officers was to get you to a point where you had 24/7 coverage. Because of training and bringing officers on board, we were never quite able to get there. But now, you know, with the officers and Chief Gress looking at it, it looks like that might be something we can accomplish for the town. Question, I mean, it becomes a policy question for the town board. Is that still something that you want to do? You're staffed in a position where you'll be able to pretty much have 24/7 coverage.
Yeah, I
With
mean, if
10
we're staffed
officers.
and that, yeah, we might as well.
And that was your policy direction to go to the level that you're at. You know, as you get more tenured officers and they get more vacation, you've got more backfilling you have to do. You know, there was at one point we were 10+1, so we had an over for a short period of time. That will become a budgetary consideration in years going forward of when do you need to add that next, officer or extra body in the department.
And what's good is nothing's set in stone, right? If you decide you don't want that or to change it up, obviously we can look at other things if it's not working for whatever reason. But 32 years.
It was just a couple citizens asked, and I said, I don't know, I'm not in charge of that. I don't
Were
know
they-
calls. You know, so I just said I would ask and find out if, I mean,
Were they looking for that?
no, they were just wondering if they know we have it, but they said, you know, nobody's ever, do we need it? What goes on you know?
In the middle of the night?
Right, so I
It's kinda-
said, I didn't know.
Nothing goes on until
I was
something
gonna say,
does.
it's kind of one of those, it's
Right,
kind of
and
one of
it's a
those
mess.
things that if we're staffed and we have the ability to do it, I think it's important, because if nothing else, having that officer on almost in the middle of the night keeps you from needing that officer on in the middle of the night. Because the statistics may say you don't have as much stuff going on, but that's because people that are doing things know that there's somebody out there. But it's important, I think, for that officer to be moving around, be visible maybe during that time, and not just sitting in the squad, hanging out in the office, doing paperwork all night.
Yeah.
Or doing things
Shaking
where they're
doors.
out. Because if you're out hanging out, patrolling town, being visible, that's going to deter stuff more than anything else.
Just like your mom said, nothing good happens after midnight.
It might be helpful to see some utilization data in the coming year, though. Hey, this is how often these types of events are happening during these hours, just to inform the decision. If we decide, hey, we need to revisit this, it would be helpful to have the data to say, this was the utilization of these officers during these hours.
And demands will only go up as the
I was gonna
population
say,
goes
I
up.
also
Yeah.
think
And-
about the fact that we're projected to double in size
I mean,
and that.
Well, and that's why we
Surge-
want to start tracking it now.
Right,
So we
absolutely.
can see how those the crime trends align or don't align with population trends and business development and other economic trends.
And
And
some,
we
I
can't
mean-
track it if no one's getting caught. So.
Yeah, well, and we're, hopeful as we get, Chief Gress onboarded and a little bit more acclimated, some of the reporting will become a little bit more robust to the Board of Trustees, so you can see some of this data.
And that was, I'm going off a bit from what we were talking about, but that was going to be one of my asks for 2026. We've heard overwhelmingly from our citizens, they want more traffic enforcement. And there's two parts of that. Number one is doing it, and number two is letting them know that the SOAP PD is doing it. Would it be possible to get maybe quarterly traffic enforcement data so that we could
Yep.
share it with the public?
Yep, we did that in Breck, yep.
I think.
And I'll
again,
look at, there's actual crime analysis modules like ComStat, DDAX, like after 9/11, New York City, NYPD went to ComStat, it's an acronym, and they are all about that, but yeah, it doesn't even have to take some special program. Once we get the records position, is Hope's ready to go, and she's more than willing, and I'm grateful that she's sticking around to help train the new person. That will help. Not she's going to have a plenty to do, but just be able to maybe as an ancillary duty pull that data up from New World and that kind of thing. Because I've already asked the officers, some of them are a little freaked out about performance standards, but that's the only metrics you can kind of base on how we doing, that kind of thing, instead of just word of mouth or assumptions and that kind of thing. Let's look at some hard numbers and then be
I mean,
flexible with it.
Priority one is, of course, having increased or improved traffic enforcement, but priority number two, subsequent to that, is letting everybody know we're doing it. Right? That also serves our preventative mechanism. When people know those laws are being enforced more locally, they're less likely to speed, they're less likely to speed through stop signs, et cetera.
It's kind of funny, I just had a person in my office complaining that why are the police department doing speed enforcement? They're being mean. I'm like, well, I know. Kim's like, what? The citizenry kind of want us to do speed enforcement, so it's fine.
Yeah, I
just
would suggest they're
listen-
probably in the minority,
Yeah.
maybe exclusive
They're
minority.
probably one of the ones, yeah.
No one's happy with
Everybody
speed
wants it-
enforcement after they've gotten
I
a
would say
ticket.
everybody
Yeah.
wants it
Yeah.
enforced
Say
until it's
that.
enforced on them.
Yeah.
I just,
Perhaps one of the
I'm picturing
officers saw
them going
them
to court and
yesterday.
saying, but Your Honor, this is so mean, like, doesn't work.
But, as we're doing our space analysis, we will make sure that we create a safe space in the new building that we can put that person when they're having an issue.
Give them a pillow to scream in.
Yeah.
It's a crying room.
We'll
Every
have
office
something.
needs one of those.
The only thing I've got in the police department, and it's not really a budgetary thing, now that Flock has partnered with Ring, Amazon,
I did not know
I
that.
think we need to review what's going on with the Flock cameras.
See, you said the quiet part out loud. I was.
Yeah.
As it comes to private surveillance?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot out there about what Amazon and Ring's access is going to be to Flock camera data. If it's going outside of police department use, then we need to
That would
access.
be a huge concern.
Yeah.
That was one of my major concerns. And we don't know what data is being shared in either direction. It's not just law enforcement access to private cameras. It's what access do private citizens and/or businesses have to municipal data via the Flock cameras. Neither direction has been disclosed.
Yeah, because City of Glenwood has that. You can sign up. If you can sign up to give the Glenwood Springs PD permission to use your Ring camera.
Can't opt
If-
out of it.
But
Say
you'd
that
have to
again.
sign up to give them permission.
The current language is that you can't opt out of it. It's a
Okay.
corporate decision when you choose to use Ring devices.
It's one of those,
Okay.
you have to agree to it to use the product.
Yeah.
But you don't have to agree to it.
Right.
But if you don't
can't
agree
use
to it,
the
you
product.
can't
Yeah,
use it. So you have to agree to it.
I-
It's a
I-
big gray area.
I feel remarkably naive at this point. I
Me too.
didn't know
I
that
haven't heard
Amazon was buying Flock,
I don't know
Well, I
if
think
They're not
that
buying
they're
them.
buying, it's a partnership.
a partnership.
Thing.
the
Yeah.
flock footage is sensitive information, and whoever is in charge of that has a duty to not just let
Well,
some guy on the
exactly,
internet
yeah.
get a hold of it so they can, do whatever with it. So that's always a concern in my mind. And then when it goes to something like Ring, maybe it creates more concerns.
More concerns,
right?
yeah.
But it's definitely, I mean, that's always something. Whoever's managing that information has a duty, and maybe even
I
a
don't-
heightened duty,
Well,
Yeah.
because it's law
It's just something to look
enforcement
into, but I don't
type
think
stuff.
that Flock has, or Ring has access to Flock data, just like I don't think Flock's getting access to Ring. I think they're separate, but it's being combined possibly.
Well,
But I don't know for sure.
We'll follow up
Yeah.
and do a little research and report back to make sure that there are appropriate firewalls
Firewalls.
between the data.
Okay.
It's one thing for the data to move upwards to the police department. It's another thing for the data to move downward to the average citizen.
Well, people might have objections to flock camera type stuff because they feel like it's a violation of their privacy. That's all debatable stuff, right? But if we are doing that and we're allowing it to be managed by a company that's not managing the information responsibly, then I feel like that's a definite problem for us. You know what I mean?
I wasn't aware of it, but
either.
I wasn't either.
we'll do some follow-up on that. I will point out one item that as we were going through the budget, that we discovered that the line item for the Axon body cameras, the in-dash cameras, and the AI software was not appropriately budgeted. Number should be 90,000 and it's at 58. And when the budget was prepared, it was missed that we had that extra component. And if I understand correctly, the majority of that component is the AI software.
Correct.
But you are looking at some alternatives.
Yeah.
Whether
The
there's-
one issue is the previous administration agreed, so we're kind of stuck for a few years until we look. But I already have a meeting with another vendor that other agencies, Avon specifically, said that this is so much cheaper and just a good product, but we may have to weather the few years that they committed to, so.
So that was just full disclosure on it.
And no, it doesn't say opt out. It says you can submit a camera if you want to, right?
Well, just
Right
because it
there.
says that doesn't mean that's exactly what it is.
Well, no, that's
I know.
exactly what it is.
Well, and,
Yeah.
but I think you're
But I'm
missing
just
the
saying,
point of-
it doesn't
Because something
say,
says that there doesn't mean that's actually what's going on.
oh, I know, but I was just saying,
Yeah. Okay.
it's right
But
there on the
we'll
website.
report back on that
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
But I do have a question. So, I mean, yes, we've talked about speed enforcement and this, that, and the other. So is there money in the budget? And I don't know if it's PD or Public Works. Is there money in the budget for more stop signs or speed limit signs or things of that nature to help aid?
Well, I think probably the biggest aid to speed is visibility and enforcement, is being out there. The other thing that I think we have to leverage more and more of is targeting where we're actually doing some of the enforcement action. Like, Trustee Seifert, you've many times mentioned people ripping down 16th. That's where we need to do speed studies to see whether, where we are in there. We had a complaint from a citizen not too long ago about people ripping down Grand Avenue. These are we need to leverage the data that we can get by putting our speed sensors out there and knowing, okay, here is an area that we need to do some enforcement and target the enforcement to those areas. So as you come up with, hey, there, people are ripping down. I mean, I can tell you sometimes they rip down 7th Street, coming around the corner north of where the Skyline condominiums are. They come around that corner and they're moving. They're probably not moving as fast as I think they're moving, but they seem to be moving fast. But that's where we need to put our sensing data out there so we can find out how fast they're going.
Because I think I talked about this during my interviews. There's an engineering aspect to, you can only have so much signage before it becomes actually dangerous, and there's a 85th percentile rule of how traffic flows for safety and that kind of thing, so, but we'll look at all that.
Yeah, because, I mean, you don't want sign pollution. I mean, look outside of town hall, there's a sign every 50
Yeah,
feet.
and physiologically, your brain will paint out all the signs except for the one, it's just,
Yeah.
your brain will blank out so many signs is just overwhelmingly, your brain just paints it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't put anything specifically in the budget. We've talked about a speed trailer where you can move a trailer around. We have a couple, they're not really portable, but they're mountable on some signage. We put them out on Main Street, on the east end of town.
And I think things like that help a lot, to be
And
honest.
the reality is, I mean, when I'm walking and I'm noticing those speed signs start flashing at somebody, and a lot of times the brakes go on. On occasion, I hear somebody speed up just to, annoy
Just
the
to
sign.
see,
but-
just to see
Set
how
the record?
fast,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Because that
budget-
one outside of Rifle works really well. When you go around that turn and, yeah.
Do the red and blue lights flash when it says?
Uh-huh.
your
If you're going
speed?
fast
Exactly,
enough,
But
So-
but
so you've heard.
budgetarily, the officers can, we can
I've
look
heard.
at the stop signs and stuff like that, just as part of their regular duties anyway.
Good. Any other PD questions? Okay, thanks, Chief. All right, we'll move on to Public Works and Parks. And, happily, I get to turn this over to Director Lundin.
Okay, we'll start with the year in review of 2025, what we've accomplished so far. And, first is the Grand Avenue project, which went really well. It was budgeted at 1.173, and we finished it at 1.34. So saved some money there. And then the H Street project is ongoing, and that was budgeted at 573, and we don't know what that's going to cost totally yet. Hopefully they'll pave next week. And 1400 block of Ballard. We budgeted $285,000 for that, and it came in a contract for 133. With that, the Public Works Department did a lot of work, all the grading for the road, plus the sidewalks, which saved the town about $75,000. We had to have somebody else do that. And the overlay project on 4th, 5th, and 6th in Ballard above Grand, that was budgeted at 150, and it came in at 128. And there again, Public Works did a lot of the grading, which saved the town about $28,000. And then the town hall sidewalk out front, that wasn't budgeted at all, but we had to get it done for the election. And we got that done for $13,900, and Public Works did all the grading on that, which saved the town about $7,000. So
Nice. There wasn't any grant help with that, was there? It was just,
the grant help for,
I mean, for the town hall side.
No.
that was.
Sadly, that was sprung on us by the Election Commission back in July.
Yeah.
And they basically said, you have to fix this and have to have it done by October, otherwise we're gonna move your ballot.
Yeah, because I knew it was because of that ballot box, but I didn't know if there was any funding to help move.
Just
I did
very,
ask for
very
help, but-
appreciative.
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay.
I was gonna ask if you could just move the ballot box, but they move it for you then, it sounds like. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're happy to have it where it is.
It's a nice sidewalk. It's a
It's
really
a very
nice
nice
new
sidewalk now.
Yep. Parking's
It's
a
gonna
little more
last a
efficient.
long time. Yeah.
Nobody likes the straight-in parking except the engineer.
Because they're not used to it. Because people aren't used to it yet.
The
I think once
engineer
they get
loves,
used to it, it'll be
loves the straight-in parking, the rest of us not so much.
No, did we get more spots because it's straight in versus
I
what it
think we
was?
gained
Got
one spot, didn't we?
plus the extra handicap space to get a wheelchair out and about. You got an extra 10-foot to unload a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
There's one extra spot for parking. And hopefully next year we'll do 7th Street and we'll redo the whole street and all the sidewalks. And they'll match the one out front.
Nice. I have a question on 8th Street because I'm not an engineer. That's why I'm asking this. Because I saw them dig a trench and then I saw them haul the old asphalt from Community Park, put it in the trench, and I was like, because I'm not an engineer, I'm like, well, aren't they all jagged like this? And isn't that going to leave a bunch of voids in between where it
No.
will settle?
If you remember Home Avenue, all the soft spots we had there,
Yes.
the engineering design for repairing those soft spots was a jagged rock, which the only place we could find it was in Glenwood at the quarry. The quarry's no longer in business. So the engineer suggested broken up concrete or broken up asphalt to take its place. And luckily, we had the asphalt right here at
Yeah.
Park. So those were all soft spots they were filling. Then they put a geotech over the top of that. And then they put a 1.5-inch road base on top of that to bond it together, which heals the soft spot.
Oh, okay.
That's what they were doing there.
Okay, like I said, I just saw them doing that, and I was just curious.
We did come up with a good design on soft spots on the Home Avenue. It cost a little money, but we come up with a good design
Uh-huh.
for repairing
Okay.
them.
Nice.
Did that save money too?
Yes. For a soft spot for unsuitable material on that project, it's $92 per cubic yard. And so they didn't have to buy anything except for the road base.
Just reuse what we had?
That get a discount
Yeah.
on the cost of material going back in.
Cool.
Oh, good.
And then you can see the Public Works crew. And I'm gonna ask for one more on the Public Works crew next year. So, which will help with doing some of the projects we're doing. And then we need to get 2 extra seasonals, which will free up some of our main crew to do other things. For instance, we have some valve exercising, some flushing, hydrant flushing. We weren't able to do that much because every time we tried to flush hydrants, we'd run out of water. But with the new water plant, we should be able to do all the flushing we need. So, little help on that will help.
And we recover that cost with the savings on projects, the
Correct.
cost of another E. FTE.
Correct. And then the other employee would also help in the distribution collection side, doing the maintenance on it. And then plus that gives our main crews time to do a sidewalk or put in some drainage or.
Yeah. And I was going to ask about that because it said, designated collections distribution, but he'd be part of the Public Works crew.
Correct.
So would he or she, still be primarily that, or would they be pulled off to be put on a weed eater
You know,
if need be, or?
our town is not big enough to have individual jobs.
Yeah.
When you work for Public Works, you gotta be willing to do everything. You may have to run a weed eater. You may have to run a
Yeah.
lawnmower. Or you may be running a shovel on a water break. So we don't have designated
Yeah.
jobs for anybody.
I think,
And-
I think the key to one of your questions is that the purpose of hiring the larger seasonal crew is to keep our, well-compensated, experienced public works crew doing bigger and better things that can save us money.
Gotcha.
Whereas we can put somebody on a weed eater, cutting grass, that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
have to
No, I
have
mean,
all
that
that
makes sense.
experience in, a distribution system or the irrigation
Yeah.
system, et cetera. So we're trying to use our crew more effectively to offset some of our construction costs. Because when we have to hire somebody to do a project, we're paying cost plus.
Yes. Yeah, and then maybe I worded my question wrong, but I guess my concern was, in the past, it seems like sometimes we'd have a code enforcement officer who would just, get absorbed into the police department. And I guess that was my question. It's like, are they gonna, even though they might be on a weed eater from time to time, they'll still primarily be just that?
Primarily, yes.
and not-
you know,
Okay,
Because, we have you have valve exercising to do and valve replacement. And there's probably, thousands of valves in the system that most time if we go turn off a valve and it doesn't work, we gotta go to a next valve. So if we can find those valves, exercise them, make them work, or else replace them. So when we do have a water break, we go to 2 valves and we isolate that section of town. So it's gonna be some time consuming, or you were part of the mapping where we had to go to every valve and see which valve turned on such a hydrant. So it's gonna take some time,
yeah.
but we have to do it so we can maintain our system.
Understood. So then, are you asking for that person this year, or no?
Yes.
It'll be,
Okay, I'm just,
It is included in the 2026 administrative budget. And it's
along with 2
primarily funded through water and wastewater, a good portion of it, because that position's responsibility is going to be the distribution system, which is paid for, distribution and collection system, which is paid for water and user rates. There's going to be a small component that's going to be public works, but the majority of it's going to be utility-based.
okay.
And he'll work mostly with Public Works on our water system or our water breaks.
Gotcha, okay.
And then moving on to 2026, Community Park, we've started. I know you've probably noticed, we tore out the old tennis courts, the basketball courts, the volleyball courts, and playground. And I'm getting prices on everything, and right now we've got $1.2 million budgeted for that park. My budgeting, I've got it right about $950,000, so that should save us $250,000 for phase 2 for the splash pad for next year. And then Public Works is doing most of the work there, the dirt work, the prep work. So I'm guessing that's going to save the town anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 with Public Works doing that work. So that's going to help us out a lot. And then we would like to get Veterans Park designed next year, so we all know what we want to do with that park for. And then engineering, or Grand Avenue Phase 2, which we did get a grant for that. We'll start that hopefully in March. We'll go out to bid probably next month. So we'll have contractors hungry for the first project, and hopefully we'll get some good prices on that.
How many, we've got, at least 3 more phases of Grand Avenue?
Yeah, Phase 3 should get us to 9th Street, and Phase 4 should get us to 7th, maybe a little past 7th. And then Phase 5 should get us all the way to 1st Street.
Okay,
So 4 more phases.
4 more phases.
4 more phases, all right.
But once
And
we
it-
get past 7th Street, the price should go down considerably, because we're not replacing water line, we're just putting in drainage and sidewalks.
Oh, okay,
And we've basically committed that each of the next phases, the fall FMLD grant, the large traditional grant, we would use for the next phase of Grand Avenue. So we just keep plugging along and getting it.
oh, nice. Yeah, because I'd like to keep that one going
And
for
that may
sure.
help out with some of our speed problems, because each one of those intersections will have the bulb outs, which is supposed to be traffic calming. So maybe that'll slow down some of the speeding on Grand Avenue.
Well, that's true, yeah.
We'll see what happens. And then engineering, we were going to hope to engineer some projects for the future, which would be the 9th Street sidewalk from Main Street to Orchard. And then 6th, 5th, and 4th Street sidewalks to Grand. And there would also be engineering for Phase 3 of Grand Avenue. So if we get those engineered when we decide to go for a grant, all the grants need to be shovel ready. So we'll already have the engineering for them.
Oh, okay.
And then, like next year, we probably won't do no sidewalks, but we'll concentrate on our hydrant flushing, our valve exercising, and our valve replacement program, and then our chip and seal program. So we'll concentrate on that and get those up and running. So we have a schedule when it gets done, and we'll try to keep to it.
Oh, okay, nice.
How long is that engineering usually good for once it's done?
Pardon me?
How long is the engineering, how many years is that good for once it's done, or is it
It's a document, it's
okay,
there.
I just didn't want it to, where we spend the money doing the engineering, and then we don't do the street for 4 years, and we go to do it, and they go, oh, no, this engineering study's too old, you need to do a new one.
No,
So I just want to make sure on that.
You know, there may be something you want to upgrade on your plan.
Yeah.
You don't have to change everything. Your drainage and your water lines are all going to be the same.
Yep, no, that makes sense, and that's what I figured, I just wanted to just ask the question, just to make sure.
Yeah. And speaking of questions, the engineer, when is his contract?
We appoint the engineer annually.
He's annually.
Okay. But I guess what time of the year? Or just
we-
this time or
We appoint usually, I think it's January.
January? Okay.
And future projects, you know, the chip and seal program, which this year we crack sealed First Street and Orchard from 16th all the way to 7th Street.
Yeah, I saw them out there Saturday on
Yeah,
Orchard.
and we also crack filled First Street from 8th Street up to Harness Lane. So next year, our first chip and seal projects will be First Street and Orchard. And then we'll go back to the oldest subdivision and get that chip and sealed and put everything on a 7-year rotation and try to get that going. So if we chip and seal every 7 years, you just rotate it. It maintains your road, but you have to crack seal it first and then you chip and seal. So we have a budget, I think 110,000. So we'll do as many roads with the crack seal and chip and seal that gets us, and then we'll just
Oh, okay.
continue on, and in 7 years we'll start rotating, doing it again. And then fall protection and the playgrounds. We have, after community's done, we'll have one left, which is Flying Eagle. That'll be the last park that needs the fall protection, and that'll probably be budgeted for 27. And then safe routes to school. We have sidewalks pretty much all the way to the school except for Orchard, from 7th to the school. So my plan is to get that sidewalk done. And then we have sidewalks for all the kids to walk to school, ride their bikes to school, and stay off the roads. And then the street pavement overlays. We have Richards, 6th, 5th, and South Valley or North Valley to get done, and on the west of 7th Street. And then all of the roads there have been overlaid. So once they're overlaid, then we can concentrate on sidewalks in the future.
Uh-huh. Oh, nice.
Just
Yeah.
fill it in. And then after those are done, we can move to the east side of 7th and start redoing some of the roads there, talking about sidewalks and replacing the water lines on like the cul-de-sacs, the dead-end streets like Valley and Kim, and so that's future. And that's Public Works and Parks, if you have any questions.
I think the big one, we're gonna try to develop a rehabilitation plan for Veterans Park internally. And that's gonna involve the park committee as well as probably some citizen outreach. Obviously, we'll wanna talk to the Heyday Committee and try to figure out, I mean, we're not talking about massive remodel of that park. It's just moving, redeveloping a stage or a shelter area and just making sure the components are in the right spot.
Yeah, I can, I'm going to throw out her name. Carly Webb would be the best one on the Heyday Committee, I feel.
Okay.
She has time. She's a
What?
very busy lady, but she is.
I know,
she's-
but, yeah.
She's very good about understanding all that. She's done a lot of work with.
Yes.
And there, we've had some internal conversation about the fact that we need to do some historical work in the park. to know, because some of the trees were planted for specific veterans, and we need to memorialize that, and we probably need to memorialize some sort of veterans memorial in the park that would be for all veterans that were residents of Silt. And so I think that's one of the components that we'll be talking about and how to move that forward.
Well, it's definitely, there's,
Sometimes they have those stone
Yep.
things where you can chisel people's names in.
You know, something that would be, you know, one, we want to make sure that the trees are memorialized for who they were originally planted for. But the other piece is to then kind of bring in the rest of the veterans from the community.
Love it.
No, yeah, then that's a great idea, because obviously, you know, we've been in more conflicts that are on that little plaque in Veterans Park, so it would be nice to include everyone.
Yes.
But it is a really nice park, so we don't need to change it too much.
well, yeah, there's something to be said for it being open space and having it be like it is. It's mostly just adding in a shelter of some kind, a place for they'll have some small bands, small groups.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is pretty much.
That's why we felt that it probably could be internally
Yeah.
kind of mapped out and then have a plan drawn up and then go ahead and do it. And again, it's one of those projects that we will likely be able to do with a lot of public works help.
That's great.
Nice. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I just wanted to add, not really a question, but there's a gentleman across the street from the library, and you know, many years ago he complained about a sidewalk in front of his house, and then it got torn up and it was filled in with road base. Is there any way we could? Is there any money in the budget to maybe just finish that?
Right across the street?
Yes.
I can look at that. I mean, it's getting
Yeah.
kind of late in the season for concrete. But we can look at
Yeah.
it. and see
I
what
just
we
wanted to throw it out because he's parking there and it's a mud hole and he just tracks mud everywhere now.
can- I can look at that. I mean, that whole sidewalk from 6th to 7th needs to be ripped out and redone because it's very uneven. And
Yeah.
so if we're gonna do one part of it, we might as well look at doing the whole thing.
All
I
right.
can look at that and see what we can get it done for.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
And I did bring up the other night at our heyday meeting, we had a wrap up for the year, talking about the Veterans Park remodel, and they were very interested in having somebody, if not maybe a couple people, sit on that committee to help with the redesign.
Okay.
Sounds good.
If there's no more questions on Public Works, I'd like to have Casey come up. He's the ORC of the wastewater plant and
Okay,
talk to you about what's been happening there.
come on up, Casey.
Hot seat.
Hot seat.
Hot seat.
He's wearing his favorite
Yeah, you
purple
guys,
shirt.
yeah,
so
there's
it's
two
okay.
seats. You guys can sit here if you want.
Yeah, you don't have to be in the hot seat.
Hot seat. We'll save that when you have to go to court. Hopefully never. Yeah, hopefully not.
So yeah, so we thought we'd have our two ORCs come in and talk about their respective plants because they know what's going on down there. You know, Director Lundin and myself are just, you know, we know enough to be dangerous.
Okay.
Well, with wastewater this year, we finally got the fan press installed. It went about as smooth as possible. Right now, I am learning it. And we've done a soft startup, so it's running, it's working. I'm making biosolids. We're gonna do a hard startup with the manufacturer before the end of the year. Some conflicts in their schedule, excuse me, ended up that they had to push out further than we anticipated, so. The other big one was the VFDs. We finally got one of those installed for the blowers.
Explain what a VFD is, please.
Frequency drive.
Okay.
It tells a motor how fast or how slow to go, depending upon an input. We lost Charlie, which was our electrician, He's the one that started the project, so we've got another electrician, 2 electricians on standby that we're trying to get scheduled in and get that finished up. We also hired an operator, not an operator, but an operator to fill a position that we lost. So we've got a good greenhorn who's moving up. And then just to give you some numbers on the plant itself, we are averaging across the last 10 months at a hydraulic load of 35%, which is a good number. And then our organic capacity, our loading capacity, is running about half of what we can do. Which,
At what point do those numbers cause us to have to start thinking about expansion?
50%.
50%.
Hydraulic would be a little bit more fast-paced because water doesn't stop. There are things that we can do biologically that can help bring that number down a little bit, but water doesn't stop. So hydraulic capacity would be the big one. Once we hit 50% hydraulic capacity, that would be like the alarm going off in our head. As far as organics, it's better to be overloaded than underloaded. It's better to have not enough water and too much organics than too much water and not enough organics.
And we're at 35% now.
35% hydraulics, yep.
Maybe the better question is, will you let us know when it's time to think about expanding?
Well, you know,
As the expert.
You're not
He's
going to
gonna say
monitor the
now.
hydraulic capacity?
I mean, this
What do
has
you
been
do all
very
day?
educational. I appreciate it. But
So,
Depends on Apple's.
for our growth rate, I would advise that we do a study. We see where we're at, we see what we can do, how much we can afford, and have that in our back pocket. Let's not wait until we're in a situation like with the water plant. Because we can't, we couldn't shut down the old water plant. We definitely can't shut down the wastewater plant. We need to be a little bit more proactive. So if we've got the numbers and we can do the study now, let's do it. I mean, prospectively.
There is money in the budget for next year for engineering, just for that purpose, so that we can stay ahead of us ourselves. And so we're ready for when we do get close to that 50%, we're ready for it.
and hopefully the wastewater plant will not be a complete rebuild of the entire facility. It'll just be an expansion. That's the key. I mean, when the town got to the point where it was with the water plant, it was a new water plant. There was no
Yeah.
putting out a Band-Aid or fixing one component to improve. You had to replace the whole thing.
And the wastewater plant we can expand it to, take up any incoming residents we bring on.
We do have a lovely solar field out there that can be
Repurposed.
repurposed.
Wasn't it only good for 20 years and
Yeah.
isn't it like halfway over? So,
It is, I
yeah.
think, this is that year.
So on the wastewater side, and this is pre anybody sitting at that table, on the board, we were always told that the water plant was perfectly fine, doing what it needed to, no problems whatsoever.
No, he's right.
Until
It
new people
wasn't.
got in there and said it wasn't. So on the wastewater side, are these numbers real, or are we already at 60%?
These numbers are real. I took them last Friday,
Okay,
right out of the DMR.
okay.
So they are real.
Okay. And it's nothing against anybody that's sitting here now. It's just,
No.
Anybody sitting
It's
here
fooled
now
me
don't
once.
wanna
it
be in
fooled me once. Let's stay ahead of the
Yeah.
ball. So
Yes, absolutely. I would much rather put the guy that comes after me in 10 years or 20 years in a better position than I was put in.
but okay, all right, okay,
And we'll move to Sarah.
all right. This is the exciting one. I got to ask first before you start though. Do you have the futon couch in
Not-
the office?
Yet, I haven't picked out the perfect one.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a fish, I've decided, stress relief.
Okay.
So our year in review, our water year is October to October, so not including the numbers for October because they aren't finished. I just compared it to 2024. So we've made about 4 million-ish more gallons of water for production water. We've done pretty well this summer, and I think I can give thanks to not a whole lot of rain, so we didn't have that much in runoff, so we weren't struggling to combat that, so we did okay. But we're also not serving Camarillo and River Trace and the other subdivisions that are built out. So we're very much looking forward to the new water plant. I realize it's gonna take us a while to learn it, but Victor and I and everybody are going to be determined to feel as comfortable with that as we are with this old one. So that's gonna be my main goal next year. With that said, if we have the ability to make the water quicker to catch up, I very much look forward to getting the distribution system in shape. We need to do flushing of all the lines, directional flushing. That can help us get rid of some of the manganese and iron in the pipes, because we're not going to stop getting complaints just because I'm putting out good water. It's still going to be when you open a valve. So the flushing will help with that. We haven't been able to do that a little bit because of staffing, which we're curing, and a lot because of it depends on what time of year, when do people get home, the water usage. Also, the valve exercising is very important. I do feel that we have caught any leaks in a quicker manner in the last year or two, which has saved us a few times. Some of that's due to our telemetry and new SCADA. We can get an idea of where that leak is if we see something happening and go right to that point. So we don't have any violations.
Something for you?
We didn't have any violations with the Health Department, Colorado Department of Health in 2024. We didn't that we know of in 2025. I don't expect that we will, but we do have another sanitary survey coming up in 2026, and they are extremely tough. So I know from the last one what she's looking for, so I think I have it all in line. But we're doing well with that. Backflow prevention program, we are at 97%. We're doing really well with that also. We have until May to get our 100%. We have been working this year on trying to get people to voluntarily get it done around the same time, because right now we can't get 100% until the end of December because we have 3 places that they don't expire till December. Meter read accuracy, we've taken up from 88% to 98%, which in my opinion is very good. 95%, I've been told, is about average for a municipality, and we're holding it there. But we're gonna lose it fast. I'm trying to fill that other position so that we can get some help with that for meter repairs and all. We have the opening is up on Indeed. And I have an applicant coming Wednesday evening who sounds possibly promising, so we'll see. And then we did have our dive inspections done on all of the tanks except for Mesa View, because Mesa View wasn't due. It's not due until next year, about mid-year. And we're gonna have to put some money into maintenance of the main tank and just in the water storage in general.
Is that money in the budget?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yes, there's money. We're engineering either a new 1-million-gallon tank or
We're starting the process.
starting the process.
Just, I'd rather know now that it's
Yeah.
already allocated or will be allocated than to have you come back in June and be like, oh, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, remember we briefly discussed
Yeah.
a new tank
Remember
during the
that
water
hypothetical
plant?
tank? Well,
Yeah, uh-huh.
now we need it and it's X hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
of dollars.
And that kind of brings up another point. I really want to, and with this new plan, it's the perfect opportunity. I want to start a very good asset management program where I know exactly when the valve's life expectancy is. The media's like, I can have it all together because, as you guys know, both Casey and I, and probably Joe, walked into this. Somebody asked you how old the pump is. I have no idea. You know, so I want to know, and that way, when we go to fix something, we can look at that asset management plan and say, well, it only has 6 months life left. Don't put the money into fixing it. Let's just get the new one we budgeted for. So we're going to be working on that, both in the distribution field and at the water plant and wastewater.
It sounds like you already have a plan on how to do it.
Well,
I don't want to say no.
I've
But
started.
you also don't want to say yes.
I've started a small spreadsheet, but it's going to, we've talked amongst each other, and we have a goal for the future, but I don't want to give you a date. So right now, we're just kind of putting things on a spreadsheet. With Dewberry, I'm making sure I get every single manual, every maintenance checklist on, I want it all before they get to leave the job site. And then as things advance, there are programs out there specifically that help you do it. You might know of them actually from Glenwood, but they do it with the distribution and the water and the wastewater, and they kind of intertangle with the GIS mapping. And
Yeah, we use ViewWorks, which is, you know, it's been relatively problem-free for us.
okay. There are some free things you can use that the state has. So I've got on and looked at those, and I've started that. So we'll have something to carry over if we advance into something more user-friendly. But honestly, you can do it with the spreadsheet. You just have to be very good at it, I suppose. At least we're tracking.
In my line of work, we call that the MVP, the minimum viable product. You just start with a spreadsheet, and use it and kind of learn as you go, and then when you kind of outreach its abilities, then you have to look at those other tools.
Yes.
But it sounds like you have a great plan. And then the system matters less than the people implementing the plan.
So then so you guys will have 5 total once you're all staffed up.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 working at the plant, and then there'll be the 6th distribution collection
Okay.
person
gotcha.
in the,
All right.
kind of the public works side, but
Now, that distribution collections person for a public works site, is there somebody that's already working for us that has the knowledge and skills that might be better for that? And we can hire somebody from outside for a full-time public works, just, I don't, maybe that needs to be less specialized or something, that's just a thought, I don't know.
No, we do have the personnel that would be able to do that, but they're also our lead operators.
Okay, no, that makes sense, and you want to keep them there, that makes sense.
Yeah, this person would be helping them out, like on our water breaks. And
Yep.
so it would be working closely with the 2 lead operators.
So I think that, yes, they'd be with Public Works, but they'd be a little bit under our guidance also, because depending on how things turn out, we're partially responsible for that. And as you guys know, there's a lot of tests that we do in the water side and meter reads and all that are technically distribution. So with the learning of the new plant and all that comes along with it, it would be very helpful for us to have somebody take some of those tasks.
No, it totally makes sense.
We lost our screen, but next was to
Oh.
talk about the wastewater initiatives for 2026.
I got it right here.
Oh, okay.
There it is.
There it is.
So,
It's like the person reading the screen heard you.
Let's hope.
so along with getting the fan press installed this year, next year will be optimization. And like I said, the biological side of it. If we can get the biological digestion optimized, then we can also optimize biosolids. I would like to do a wastewater study, like I said, sooner rather than later. With that being said, basin cleaning, dropping those basins down, like I said last year. We got one basin done last year.
Did you find a pipe wrench? Okay.
No pipe wrench.
It must be in the other one.
So the basin that we dropped was at the end of 23, beginning of 24. We got it totally finished and refilled beginning of this year, and it was good. There was no cracks, there was no issues. All of the piping was good. I personally replaced all of the saddles for aerators in that basin, which was fun. But I don't foresee any issues coming up when we drop those basins down. From what I
Nice.
saw in the first one. It's just gonna be manpower and then coming up with a good plan of attack. You know, having Tony Zancanella on our side is a good thing. He's done it a few times. And then with the wastewater study, I think a collection system review, something to go over, who a new contractor is, who's gonna be doing the jetting, maintenance, that sort of thing on the collection side. And then kind of figuring out where we need the most work done.
Did the current guy, did he retire or is
He sold his company and retired.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking for a new sewer maintenance outfit. Which I have come across a couple of leads for some new people. It's just, I just don't want to get anybody involved in our sewer system. We have some pipes that we need to take good care of and be careful when we're cleaning them and jetting them. And the company that our old contract sold to, they just bought a jetter. They have no idea how to use it or what they're doing, so we'll find a new company that does know what they're doing.
we could budget for a jetter for,
It's-
he's like,
that's
no.
It's a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna go through every
Yeah.
option.
I mean, personally, I'd love to see the town have a jetter vacuum truck, you know, just so they could clean lines. And it's real handy if you have a water break because basically it's a big vacuum. It'll suck up all the mud and everything, and it'll save a lot of manpower with guys with shovels and picks trying to dig around the pipe. So it speeds up the
That would make me
process.
ask for 2 extra crew.
Yeah.
3.
I would say 3.
Okay.
And then there's always that too.
And then, I mean, with that, if we were to do a vac truck, that's just, I haven't even thought about that side of it. Anyways,
It's just a
That's
thought, yeah.
part of it. I mean, that's something to look at.
Yeah.
You know, it may be future. But right now, it's not feasible.
And right now we have 3 CDL drivers. I think just 3.
4 counting you two.
Oh, okay.
so 4 in the whole town that can drive a CDL.
And I'm busy.
So that means 3.
So 3.5.
3.5.
So for the wastewater study, did you say we have the money in the budget for that already?
We have some money.
Yes.
I mean, I think we should talk about that, right, as we,
Yeah, if you, in the budget, it's under engineering.
okay. Sounds, I feel like we should heed that warning, or you
Yeah, I
take
think
that
there's
advice.
$50,000 in there for engineering.
Mine, is that mine?
Yes.
Okay. I think I kind of spit it all out at you in the first talk, but I missed, as far as initiatives, the Sunrise Pump Station, we want to put a bypass, and Tony has been helping us with the design, and Joe on how to do that. The reason that we want to do that is because we need to do some well-needed maintenance to our PRVs up there. They should be cleaned out periodically. And in order to clean them out, the little traps, we would have to cut off water to a section of town right
It
now.
would be, if we had to shut that down, it would be Eagles View, Iron Horse, and Stony Ridge would be out of water. You know, if you had to replace a part and you couldn't get parts, so we need to put in a bypass so that we can keep everybody in water while we're repairing a PRV or a download valve.
And these kind of items are really good to have in the asset management because some of those valves are extremely important to our distribution system. And, you know, they're aging, so we need to look at having them on standby. So Joe and I and Tony have been looking at that, trying to get estimates on what we might need. So that's an initiative for me too. Just getting that asset management plan going, knowing what we have, how old it is, what its life is supposed to be. And then we're going to have a lot more testing probably to do as far as the water plant and distribution system. They're starting the PFAS testing. We have to do quarterly monitoring for that, which isn't necessarily difficult, but it is $500-something per test. So that's an extra couple thousand in the budget just for that. And when we reach 3,900 is like one of the lines where the state may add additional testing on us. That mixed with the fact that we're getting a new water plant. So our testings could increase. So we just need to keep track of that. Just like our lead and copper samples, I believe we got 10 samples in the past. Now we're required to get 20. So that entails us finding 20 homeowners that are willing to help us get those tests in a timely manner and get them in. So I think that's covers our initiatives. Mostly learning that new water plant because that allows for these other things to happen easier.
So is Tony Zancanella going to stay on after we get the plant done?
Yeah, he's gonna serve as our water wastewater consulting engineer.
Okay.
You know, he's got that expertise that these guys need to rely on when they have questions or are looking at doing, you know, some good redneck engineering to fix a problem that we've got. Tony can help them walk through that so that we can get it through the regulatory agencies.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been involved with both sides of the system for long enough now. At this point, he knows them well, so he's able to offer valuable experience. Plus, he has that higher level experience for you guys
He's
to lean
a
on.
combination of an engineer and an operator.
Yeah.
Yep.
Usually get one or the other, and the engineers build it, and then the operator says, but this doesn't work. So Tony's in the middle.
Yeah, not to pick
He's an
on
engineer that knows how to build
engineers
it
and
so it works.
architects, but they like drawing pretty pictures. They don't always work in the real world.
Yes. Okay, so future projects. Phase 2 of the water treatment plant improvements, 7th Street water main replacement, water storage, make sure we're good in those aspects, both maintenance and expansion. And then Lyons residential water main replacement.
We had the one pipe explode on a hydrant line out in Lyons, and we had that problem on Pioneer where we had several blowouts in our ductile line, water line. So we need to get it engineered and be proactive by getting the ductile iron replaced so that we don't have a problem with property damage like we did on Pioneer Drive. So that's one of the first engineering project is Lyons Residential. Engineered removing the ductile and replacing it with C900.
And then I think Casey and I both have the future key projects of starting an asset management plan for people in the future and for us too.
So I touched on the collection system review. One of the more key things would be the KOA lift station. Having that looked at, engineered, making sure that we are built out and ready for anything that comes, because there's supposed to be more building on that side of the highway. We do have another lift station that I struggle with, and that's the reclaimed water for biosolids. The force main was abandoned years ago when they had issues. They didn't fix it, they didn't replace it, they didn't do anything with it. They just put in new lines back to the basins. I'd like to figure out if that line is either fixable or just replace the entire line back to Headworks. The other one is we need to monitor what's going to happen within the next couple of years with regulatory stuff. We don't know what's going to happen with Reg 31, which right now is Reg 84. We don't know if that's going to go all the way through or it's going to get dropped. There's a lot of litigation that's happening on the Front Range specifically towards Reg 31. A lot of small towns and communities are fighting it hard. And the last one, no. Apple tree. No.
So just to give you,
I said, I thought no too.
just to
No,
give
no,
you
no.
Doesn't sound like a project, that sounds like an answer.
a heads up, the town has been approached by the operators of Apple Tree to take their wastewater. DOLA is pushing somebody to take their wastewater. They have basins that they've been using to treat their wastewater. CDPHE doesn't like those and is trying to find a different solution. There are a wide variety of issues taking Apple Tree's effluent. We looked at the distance.
I was gonna say, it doesn't seem.
It's, if you follow the southern road along the river, it's 32,000 feet of pipe. That's a long run of pipe. No idea whether it's all gravity. I mean, it should be gravity, but I'm sure there's ups and downs. So it's a long run.
They're in Newcastle. so-
Wouldn't Newcastle be closer?
The question is, and I don't know the answer.
Like 2 miles away.
Jerry,
to the chase.
that's way too logical. But the concern is, I'm not sure Newcastle has the capacity. And so then you get the higher ups and the state government trying to find these more regional solutions. And I will tell you that ultimately their answer to that is we're all going to be flowing downhill to some sort of regional plant at some point. That's kind of what they're looking at. And, there would be Newcastle pre-treating and sending it down. It would go through Silt. Then Silt would pre-treat it and it would go down to Rifle. And Rifle would pre-treat it or treat it and it would go to Parrot. That's kind of the regional approach that the higher ups are looking at forcing.
Doesn't seem very,
Like one wastewater for the region.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be one silt, one, they're
Right.
leading towards making it regional, since
And-
we are, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes apart, 45 minutes?
There's some logic to it, but there's, some of that logic goes out the window when you start talking about massive runs of pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
because if something happens in that pipe somewhere along that line,
And is 7 miles of pipe a long run? Yes and no. I mean, I worked on a project back in Wisconsin where we ran 30 miles of pipe because it was cheaper than,
A $60 million plant.
than buying into an existing plant that was there, because the city that had built the plant was not playing nice in the sandbox. So we ended up running 30 miles of pipe, and this was 36 or 48-inch water pipe.
So if legislation 31 goes through, is it leading us towards building our own wastewater? Because the requirements were being possible for us to phase, right? It's just with the current wastewater that we have.
It's a complicated question to a complicated answer.
Yeah,
So, if Reg 31 goes through, it's gonna put a lot of small systems in a much harder bind than they already are. They're requiring phosphate control or phosphorus control. So we get a half of a part per million off of the river by itself of phosphates. Right now, we're injecting, but with the new plant, we're not gonna be putting any orthophosphates in, so we'll be just dead even with a half a part per million. The regulations require us to be at a 0.03 that they're trying to instill, 0.03 to 0.05.
Interesting.
So it's, yes, it's possible. Yes, it's expensive. But is it something that we want to look at right now? Or is it something that we need more information for? Do we want to play the king and stand still and watch and wait and then make our move? Or do we want to jump the gun?
Sounds like we are waiting to see, because sounds like a lot of municipalities are fighting over that
Yes.
piece of literature, yeah. But if we are looking into building, just like we built the water plant, building a wastewater, that's gonna be extremely costly too, so.
Well, luckily, we have the property and the room to expand. We're not building a new plant, we're expanding what we
be adding additional pieces to.
No, that's
do the
good.
additional-
We were in a
good.
position with the water plant where there was no adding.
Yeah.
There was no fixing what we
There was
had.
nothing usable
Right.
in our.
Whereas
water
with the
plant. Life is
wastewater,
over.
we can add capacity, so we're not rebuilding the entire plant.
Am I wrong to think with the new legislation, if approved, is just gonna be challenging, even with an expansion? Because of the requirements, but you don't have to answer this now. I'm trying to make a point that the regional approach of having higher funds apply to one water plant is not a bad idea to explore. However, that comes down, I don't have the engineering, the layout, but the idea of each small town building a new wastewater plant, each time it runs out and either having to expand, it's a lot of money for small communities, so I'm not against regional efforts, I'm for it.
I would tend to agree with you. I think, though, timing and research is critical, because say we took on Appletree and it pushed us to the limit where now we have to expand our wastewater
Yeah, that's what I
plant.
don't want to have happen.
So I think they would have to supply us with enough information that we would know that we absolutely could handle this, and where would that put us, which is again where his wanting to get the research done on the plant now would come in handy.
I'm curious, like you said, they're pressuring, does that mean they're offering us some kind of compensation to take on something that's
Yeah.
not within our jurisdiction? Because our citizens own the water plant.
I don't
We
wanna
don't get
put-
to give it.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in their mouths, but regional approaches are going to garner greater support.
Sure. But then in the
That's the words I'll
meantime,
put in their mouth.
but in the meantime, to get there, you might be putting inappropriate levels of strain on municipalities, right?
You know, I will say this. Right now, we're in a pretty good position with our wastewater treatment plant to handle growth. We are in a great position to handle growth with the water treatment plant that we're just about done with. If you look at the numbers that we're producing, 115 million, that's roughly 30% of the capacity of the plant, the water plant as it's constructed. Right now, we're at about 35% on the hydraulic side of the wastewater treatment plant. That allows for significant growth in the town without having to address these big infrastructure pieces. I would argue that if we were to bring on Apple Tree or a big user like that, that isn't
Balance is
part of
totally
the town, we're gonna throw off our balance. So that there's gonna have to, one, there's upfront payments, but two, I would argue that CDPHE is gonna be, you know, guaranteeing us some very cheap financing in the future when we do have to expand,
Right.
so that we can continue to grow as a community to accommodate the people that need or want to live here.
Well, if that's part of the
Yeah.
discussion, then
And that has to be
have the
part of our
discussion.
discussion, if there is any. And that's why we just bring this up, because I want you all to think about,
Here's some numbers for you too, because I went down the rabbit hole this morning. 375 taps in Apple Tree, so just under 400 taps. That's 1,100 is their population right now. Right now, here, we have just over 1,300 taps, and we're at 3,600 people. So if we add another 1,100 people, that pushes us a quarter. I mean, that's what, 28% of what we have.
so it
Yeah.
immediately puts us above that 50%.
Uh-huh,
Where
exactly.
we have to be planning for the expansion of the plant.
Yeah, but it'll be more than that, because every property between here and there, they're gonna wanna tie on to our system,
Maybe,
so,
maybe not,
yeah.
but I mean, these are,
Over there too, which is tied onto their system.
I think, you know, there will be more discussion about this, but these are real things for us to contemplate.
So we sit and wait and make sure we know what we're capable
Yeah.
of and let them come to us.
But we are in favor of doing the research already, the engineering.
Yes. I am very much in favor of doing research.
Because with the wastewater side, it's the water side, we can supply it, we're giving it. But the wastewater side, we're receiving, we need to know exactly what we're receiving too.
Yeah, I mean, at 1 million gallons, our plant is rated for 1 million gallons a day. We're using a lot less than 1 million gallons a day.
Well, also taking on
We're
their
using
water.
about 300,000 gallons a day. So we have the ability, and that plant can be expanded to a 2 million gallon. So it can be doubled in size at some point.
Is that water or wastewater?
Water.
Water.
Going on the wastewater side too, if we're taking.
Wastewater, I don't know what the expansion would give us without, like, and that's why we have to do the study.
Yeah, we're at a 0.75 MGD for wastewater.
Because if we were to take their wastewater as well, the quality of the water that they're producing, that they're using, that's coming in wastewater would be something we need to look at as well.
That's
Because
exactly
if they're
it.
not producing good water, we don't want
Well,
super high phosphates or whatever coming into our system that we're gonna have to possibly reduce later.
Yes,
And that could be something, a serious
Correct.
consideration.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be cheaper
And-
for them
and,
to
you know,
build their own new one.
The beauty of all this is the regulations these bureaucrats write in the ivory towers are going to make us put cleaner water than what's coming down the river
By a high percentage.
by a high percentage. So there's going to be a shock factor to that, and there's unintended consequences of doing that as well.
But then California doesn't have to treat it as well, because it's already done.
Drink it.
So, to go along with your point, we want to put cleaner water back in. We want to put some nutrients back in, but we don't want it to be so far out of whack that we're putting RO water back in the river, right?
Right.
There's a dilution of 1 to 100 that we're under, that works very well. It's worked for a long, long time. And that's what we want to keep doing.
And the EPA sometimes mandates you can't have this or that in the water before there are good solutions to removing it. So what do you do?
PFAS, for example.
Yes, PFAS. But we had some tests done just for our curiosity, just so we knew where we were. And we should not have to worry. We should be fine.
I mean, yes, I want to be good neighbors, but I don't think this is a good idea.
So,
Okay.
as a side thought, we are annexing in the Herons
Correct.
trailer park.
That process has started.
That process has started. That will also give us more information on a smaller scale than just taking a massive user in as far as what a trailer park sends out. We'll be able to see, I'll be able to see a little bit more of what to expect if we were to do a regional and to continue talking about a regional. Food for thought.
Okay, that kind of wraps us up tonight. We've got the next work session, November 10. It's really a broad budget discussion on the 10th. And then we do have an executive session scheduled as part of that workshop to talk through some compensation benefit items in a broad sense. The budget this year included a 13.5% increase in health insurance premiums, which is on top of the same 13.5% that we had in 2024 for the 25 budget. Both discussions that we've had at this point has been to keep our current level of support for health insurance, but I think there's a broader discussion for us to have. But there's also some compensation discussions that we'll have as part of that. And then if you need, then we'll have the fourth work session on November 24. And then adoption of the budget on December 8th. And we'll follow up a little bit on the whole Amazon flock camera thing. I don't know that there's any other pieces from what you've heard up to this point of you want some additional information on. Now's the time to tell us so we can get that information for you.
I've already surveyed some area chiefs of police from the metro area and up valley. We'll try to get some answers. Okay.
Do we get a 5-minute break?
You have a 4-minute break.
That's all I need. That's all I need.
44 seconds.
Okay, thank you guys for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Teaching us all about the fun part of the town.
The place that nobody wants to think